Hi there. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. So we're here with the end of the month Prog Roundup, show I do every month, once a month at the end of the month. And we're going to be talking about 5 prog bands today whose albums came out this month and I think are pretty decent and worth your listening efforts. So I've made some notes on the 5 albums. So we're going to start, they're not in any particular order. It's not alphabetical or rankings or anything like that. We're not doing that here. Basically just going to talk about their recent albums. All these albums, of course, came out in November because that's why it's the end of the month Prog Roundup. So the first one, is the band is called, something stuck there, Last Plane Out. The album is called Cautionary Tales. This is a Swedish band. Album was released November the 28th, 2025. It's basically a duo, so it's 2 guys. They did have some issues, if I understood correctly, with each other, but they've come back and put another album out. This has got it's got a fair bit of classical elements to it, piano, violin, that kind of thing. Very symphonic. There's at least a fairly symphonic element to the music as well. It's melodic, it's slow, it's haunting at times. Definitely progressive. I would say more of a progressive symphonic sound. And of course, it does have its poppy elements as well. So I would call this more of a laid-back album. Not too heavy on too much of anything, but not like sappy either. So a pretty decent band and a pretty decent album. So that's my first one for today, Cautionary Tales, Last Plane Out. Okay, next is a group called The One. The album is Lighter Than Air. This is a Netherlands, UK kind of connection band. Released November the 25th of this year. So just recently, this week. A little bit slow, melodic. The vocals are clear, forward, strong, operatic at points in time as well, but pretty strong. So I would call this a little bit more of an atmospheric prog. A little bit of piano, a lot of synthesizer used throughout the track. It's considered a neo-prog band, so a band that has a neo-prog element from the early 80s in it. Definitely have a bit of an IQ kind of Marillion sound, early Marillion sound as well. So this band originally started out on their first album as having a Yes Genesis kind of 70-ish sound, and they've progressed to this neo-prog sound that they're doing now. I think it's pretty strong. This is one of the stronger albums that I'm doing today. Wish I could get more of the music. I only could find a couple tracks to listen to off of it. Would be nice to get the entire album, but it's still relatively new. It's only been out for less than 3 days. So usually what happens with these is as it goes along, more and more tracks become available and you can listen to them and decide if it's an album you would like to buy or not. So that's my second band, The One. Their album Lighter Than Air. Next up is I would call this a progressive metal band. Humming Whale is the name of the band. The album is called Chasing Rabbits. They're a Finnish band. The album was released November the 21st, 2025, so was that about a week ago. Got pretty harsh vocals, but not quite in that growl. Like, they're not growling. The voices are just really kind of harsh sounding. It's got a heavy, fast pace and lots of atmospheric synthesizers on it. I think it's catchy at moments, slower, proggier at moments as well, with a more normal vocal part on some of the tracks. So the stuff that's slower has more of a normal vocal part, where the other one is like more of a forced, almost screechy type vocals, or growly like vocals if you prefer. This is my first introduction to this band as well. I generally progressive metal albums Progressive metal bands aren't generally in my wheelhouse. There are some exceptions. Iron Maiden, I guess I consider kind of a progressive metal band at times, or so they do have some of that element in. I don't tend to mind their stuff too much, but I think it's because I've become used to the band as a whole. But yeah, this one's not too bad by that standard. Okay, the next album out is called is from Spock's Beard, the Archaeoptimist. The Archaeoptimist album, which was released, of course, November 21st, 2025, so it's a new album by the band. It has parts that remind me a little bit of Kansas. There's a little bit of a Kansas, I think there's probably a little bit more than just a little bit. It reminds me of that earlier progressive Kansas sound, really dedicated to a lot of different instrumentation going on. Almost, I wouldn't call this jammy, but definitely has those elements in the music, the soloing and the different instruments that are going off on their own, doing their own thing here. Yeah, pretty strong album. It does have some poppy parts. At times I hear a little bit of a foreigner sound to the guy's voice, but I don't think you would confuse it with that, but it definitely has that feel to me as well. Vocals have gained a really up-tempo, really quite a bit up-tempo. Upbeat sounds are poppy, but not overly poppy, but they do definitely have that poppy element to them. Lots of piano, catchy riffs, and solos throughout all the tracks on here. And then they, of course, have their strong prog moments. Bass and keyboard driven at times. The bass is actually one of the stronger instruments on this album. I don't know much about Spock's Beard. I've heard of them, of course, and have meant to go and collect some of their stuff to see if I like it. So this was my first kind of systematic sitting down and listening to their music. So yeah, it wasn't bad. I didn't mind it. So the final band out on the list today is called Cosmic Factory. The album is called Lab Grown. They're another U.S. band, like Spock's Beard. Album came out November the 15th, so it's been out a little longer than the other four. Nice, heavy, but melodic percussion and bass-driven stuff on this album. Pretty dominant. The keys and the guitars are very forward and strongly kind of proggy at times, definitely. Very heavy keyboards, very heavy bass, very heavy percussion parts throughout the album. The vocals are made more or less low end but catchy. They're not prominent. You do hear them, of course, but I don't think when people are listening to this, they'll probably be a little bit more on the instrumental part side. Some spacey parts, almost poppy at points as well. Yeah, so not a bad album. I thought this one was one of the better of the four. And definitely I got to choose one or two of them for what's new for the weekend. More than likely, I think I've got at least one of them, or probably two of them. I may have to go back to the previous list, but those ones were not they were the ones that I thought were the best for me for this month. So there you have it. That's the Prog Roundup for this month. 5 albums by 5 bands. I'll give you them all again, just in case you weren't paying attention, didn't copy anything at first, but want to know what they are. So the first group is The Lost Plane Out. Cautionary Tales is the album. The second group is The One. Lighter Than Air is the album. Next is Humming Whale, and their album is Chasing Rabbits. Next is Spock's Beard with the Archaeoptimist album. That's a big word to grab onto. And then last is the Cosmic Factory and their album Lab Grown. So those are the 5 we did today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please hit the like and subscribe. If you want to make any comments about any of the albums I've said, you can put that in the comment section below. And I hope to see you all at the end of next month for another episode of End of the Month Prog Roundup. Take care, have yourself a good one, and goodbye.